Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Music World. And of course, welcome to our music expert, Tony Moore.
Hello, Lucy. And good morning to all our music fans.
A great cultural icon with a very difficult recent history. A popular TV programme broadcasting these problems to a whole nation. And today, great performances to packed houses. I'm talking about the Royal Opera House at Covent Garden in London. The theatre dates back to 1732, but recently it's become more famous than ever. What exactly has been happening at the Royal Opera, Tony?
Well, everything started with the restoration work that was begun in 1995. This work has now been completed, and we have the modern performance space that it is today.
I can't see any trouble there.
Sure. But the restoration work was partly funded by the National Lottery.
What do you mean, partly funded? How much money came from the lottery?
The lottery gave £58.5 million towards the work.
Quite a lot of money. Remind me how the lottery works.
Lottery tickets cost £1 and are sold all over the country. And there's a big draw once a week.
OK, so the Royal Opera House received £58.5 million from the lottery. What happened next?
The restoration work was completed in 1999. Tony Blair's Labour government had given the Royal Opera this lottery money on condition that it made opera less elitist in the future by keeping some of its seats reasonably priced for citizens earning an average wage.
Did they do that?
Yes. But let's not rush things. In 2001, the Royal Opera became even more famous when the BBC filmed a fly-on-the-wall documentary about the day-to-day running of the place. Well, the programme showed a real-life soap opera in action. During this period, the theatre was chaotically managed and was almost out of control. 5 executive directors left in the space of 5 years. There was ongoing conflict between management and employees, and the Royal Opera suddenly found itself at the centre of a political debate about the funding of the arts in the UK. Many people asked whether opera wasn't too elitist an art form to receive funding from the government.
Why? Is the running of the Royal Opera completely funded by the government?
No. But it does rely in part on the government. 31% of its funds come from government subsidies. Today, corporate sponsorship is becoming more important. In 2006, this amounted to nearly £16 million. Of course, the rest of the funds come from ticket sales.
I see. And then, how does the story end?
The BBC documentary programme was a great success. It had a huge audience. The TV project wasn't so successful for the Royal Opera management, as it entered a period of financial crisis. And there was an enormous amount of criticism because of the high cost of the renovation work, and because of the BBC TV documentary, which showed that the place was managed very, very badly.
And today?
Well, after so many years of difficult times, the Royal Opera is newsworthy simply because it isn't. For the last 5 years, the Royal Opera has been putting on successful operas and ballets. It's been doing a fine job. What's more, the Opera House has kept its promise. Now, it's attracting new audiences to listen to opera, and some of the seats are reasonably priced.
So how much do tickets cost?
The top price for a performance is usually £180. But half of the seats cost £50 or less. Well, the cheaper seats cost less than £10. Of course, they're not very close to the stage, but they are the cheapest grand opera seats in Europe. On an average evening, 48% of the audience is watching its first opera.
So, a wider range of people are watching opera now in London.
Oh, that's right. After a very difficult period, the Royal Opera is now running smoothly.
Another soap opera with a happy ending. So thanks, Tony, and
Thanks.
goodbye.
Goodbye.
And goodbye to all our music fans. So, the Royal Opera House a cultural icon with a difficult history. A cultural icon is a famous symbol for one of the arts, music, writing or painting. But today it puts on performances to packed houses. Remember, the phrasal verb to put on means to organise and perform. A packed house is a theatre with every seat sold out. We say a place is packed when it's full of people. The restoration work that started in 1995 was partly funded by the National Lottery. To be funded by means to be financed by, to receive money from someone or something, in this case, the lottery. It was partly funded means that it received part of the money it needed. This money was given on condition that opera was made less elitist. Elitist means that it is only available to a small group of people, usually socially or intellectually superior. The expression on condition that means only if. The BBC filmed a fly-on-the-wall documentary about the day-to-day running of the place. A fly-on-the-wall documentary is a programme that shows everything that happens in real-life situations. Day-to-day means daily, of every day. So the day-to-day running of the place means the normal, everyday administration of the place. This real-life soap opera showed the theatre was almost out of control. A soap opera is a TV programme with many episodes that looks at the day-to-day lives of a group of people. Out of control means there is no control, like chaotic or disorganised. It showed the ongoing conflict between managers and employees. A conflict is a disagreement. It was ongoing, means that it continued for a long period of time. That's all we have time for today. See you again soon. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Travel Programme. In the studio with me once again is Christine Oteng, our travel expert.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, what does the word holiday conjure up in your mind? White sand beaches, beautiful blue sea and fantastic seafood? Or maybe cool mountain air and invigorating walks through alpine forests? How about this? Think helping to build a dam outside a village in Uganda. Think helping out in a rural hospital in India. Think showing visitors round a castle in England. That's right, today's travel topic is volunteer holidays, a way to travel and do good at the same time. Am I right, Christine?
Right. A volunteer holiday can be a true life-changing experience. Travel, visit new places and help local people at the same time. It's a great way to really make contact with local people, their culture and the kinds of problems they face, and you can help in a small way to solve some of those problems.
Certainly a holiday with a difference. What sorts of places have volunteer holidays?
There are two kinds of volunteer holidays, really. A lot of these holidays take place in developing countries, in Africa, India, and sometimes in South America. Other holidays can be found in Europe and North America. So there are lots of destinations to choose from.
And what sorts of things can you do?
There's an enormous range of activities to choose from. In the developing world, a lot of the work is based around helping on infrastructure projects, so you may help to dig a new well or build a new footbridge or perhaps a children's playground. Or you may decide to help out in a local hospital or in an orphanage. All sorts of useful projects to improve the daily lives of local people in small ways.
And what about the work in developed countries?
Well, here the work is slightly different. It's usually for charitable organisations, like, for example, the National Trust, an English charity that looks after many castles and old houses. It also owns many areas of beautiful countryside. Anyway, it's possible to do lots of interesting things for the National Trust.
What, for example?
As you mentioned earlier, helping to show tourists round a castle in the summer, There is a beautiful 15th century castle on an island off the northeast coast of England, Lindisfarne Castle. Well, they're looking for a couple to do this job for a fortnight.
OK, I'll think about that. But do you have to pay for these activities?
Yes, of course you have to pay. Volunteer holidays in developing countries tend to cost more because travel costs are higher and some of your money will go to help the local community.
In this way, you help poor people twice. Just one question, Christine. During volunteer holidays, do you have to work all the time?
Well, usually there's a split between volunteer work and sightseeing. For example, during a fortnight's holiday to Africa, you may spend the first week on your volunteer work and the second week visiting game reserves, relaxing, shopping. The sorts of things you normally do on holiday.
Good. So you have time for fun too. OK, everyone, the next time you're trying to decide where to go on holiday, forget the beaches, forget the mountains, and start thinking about leaving your comfort zone for Africa or the English countryside. Thanks, Christine, for that fascinating information.
Goodbye.
And, of course, goodbye to all travellers. Well, what does the word holiday conjure up in your mind? What does it conjure up? Means, what does it make you think of? What do you imagine when you hear the word holiday? A volunteer holiday can be a life-changing experience. A life-changing experience means it changes your life. There are two kinds of volunteer holidays, in developing countries and in developed countries. A developing country is a country with a low level of economic activity and low standards of living, like India and Africa. All these countries together are called the developing world. European countries are developed countries. There are lots of destinations to choose from. There are lots to choose from means that there is a big selection. There are lots of activities to choose from. You can help on an infrastructure project, a project that involves building or construction. You can help to build a footbridge, a bridge for people to cross on foot. You can help out in an orphanage. An orphanage is a home for children who have lost their parents. Notice how we say help to do something, help on a project, and help out in a place. You could also work for a charitable organisation in a developed country. A charitable organisation is an organisation whose aim is not to make a profit, but to help people in need. For example, you could spend a fortnight showing tourists around a castle in England. A fortnight is a period of 14 days. They're looking for a couple to do this job. A couple is two people, usually a man and a woman, who are married or in a relationship together. OK, well, that's all for this week, so take care and study hard.